Imagine waking up to the news that the most famous football club in England is considering something unthinkable. Every single player, yes, even the stars, the captain, the so-called untouchables, are all up for sale. A team worth over $1 billion, built over generations, potentially dismantled in a single summer. Is this financial madness, or is it a desperate act of survival? Manchester United, the club that once dominated Europe, has reached a crisis point that even the wildest critics didn't see coming. What would drive the Red Devils to put a price tag on every squad member? And what does this mean for the future of one of sport's most valuable and storied brands? If you think this is just another transfer window rumor, think again. Behind the headlines lurks a perfect storm of financial mismanagement, regulatory pressure, and lost glory, a story of money, ambition, and a gamble with everything at stake. How did Manchester United, once a footballing juggernaut, find themselves on the edge of a financial cliff? To understand, we have to rewind the clock and follow the money trail that leads straight to the chaos of today. The roots of United's crisis go back nearly 2 decades. In 2005, the Glazer family orchestrated a controversial takeover, an American-style leveraged buyout. They used loans to buy the club, then saddled United itself with the bill. From that moment, the club wasn't just chasing trophies. It was forced to chase cash flows, repayments, and ever-increasing debt. Since then, Manchester United's finances have been a precarious balancing act. On paper, they're a giant: merchandise sales, international fan base, global sponsorships. But lift the hood, and the numbers tell a more complicated story. According to the latest financial reports, player wages alone gobble up more than 75% of United's revenue. That's well above UEFA's recommended threshold of 70%. As football finance expert Kieran Maguire bluntly puts it, Manchester United's wage bill is not merely unsustainable, it's a ticking time bomb. The debt mountain remains stubbornly high, too. Decades of Champions League participation helped paper over the cracks. The competition not only brings prestige, but it's also a financial goldmine, worth £100 million or more every season United qualify. But now, that safety net has vanished. Manchester United's failure to qualify for next season's Champions League was a body blow. According to Deloitte, if United miss out on Europe's top competition for another year, their global brand value could tumble by up to 20%. That's not just a dent to pride, it's hundreds of millions off the club's bottom line. As if that wasn't enough, the club is also fighting on several other fronts. Brexit has made it more expensive to sign European talent. Sponsors are nervously reviewing their contracts. The fan base, ever passionate, is turning up the heat with fresh protests against the Glazers. Meanwhile, financial fair play regulations are tightening the noose, threatening severe penalties if the club doesn't rebalance its books fast. And then there's the transfer market itself. The value of United's squad has plummeted. Big money signings like Harry Maguire, Antony, and Jadon Sancho are now worth a fraction of what the club paid. In the corporate world, this would be called asset depreciation, and it's hammering United's balance sheet. David Ornstein of The Athletic sums it up. Ineos investment, while a welcome development, is not a panacea. Manchester United's financial woes are deep-seated, necessitating a fire sale of players to achieve even a semblance of stability. That's the background. Nearly 20 years of financial risk-taking, now colliding with bad results on the pitch and unforgiving economic headwinds. And the consequences are stark. To satisfy the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules, PSR, KPMG estimates that United needs to raise at least $150 million through player sales over the next 2 years. Fail, and they could face sanctions, ranging from hefty fines to possible points deductions, catastrophic for a club already languishing mid-table. So, what's the plan? According to insiders, United is preparing for the unthinkable, to sell any and every player, if the right offer comes in. The message from Old Trafford is clear: everything must go. That includes captain Bruno Fernandes. The midfield maestro, once seen as the heartbeat of the team, could be sacrificed for a big payday. Chelsea has shown interest in Alejandro Garnacho, and the club is reportedly demanding £65 million. Rashford, Antony, Sancho, players signed for astronomical fees, are now being offered at cut rates just to get their contracts off the wage bill. It's easy to forget the human cost in these high-stakes numbers. Careers are being uprooted, lifelong loyalties tested, and the very identity of a club hangs in the balance. Gary Neville, who knows Old Trafford better than almost anyone, warns, selling the entire squad is not a strategic reset, it's an act of self-immolation. Such a drastic measure would irrevocably tarnish the club's reputation and trigger a mass exodus of talent. And yet, the math doesn't lie. For every £1 United can fetch for a departing player, there's a double benefit. Badly needed cash comes in, and the bloated wage bill shrinks. That's why the club is even open to selling homegrown talents, because under FFP rules, the proceeds from their sales count as pure profit. Every academy graduate sold is a quick fix for the accountant, but a painful loss for tradition. Still, the most desperate fire sale has its limits. The transfer market is cold. Other clubs smell blood, knowing that United must sell and will accept lowball offers. Maguire, once the world's most expensive defender, could go for less than a quarter of his original fee. Casemiro's value has dropped by nearly 80% in less than 2 years. Meanwhile, the club's rivals are circling. Chelsea is looking to snap up Garnacho and even Sancho at discounted prices. Italian clubs are eyeing Højlund, who never quite matched his Atalanta promise. Even the backup keeper Onana, bought for over £40 million, is now on the chopping block at half that price. But if this fire sale is so damaging, what's the alternative? Some point to Ineos, the chemicals giant that recently invested in United, hoping for a cash infusion. But as financial analyst Swiss Ramble points out, Ineos's money is mostly earmarked for infrastructure. It won't fix the problems in the dressing room. The wage bill must fall, and that means selling. With little time and even less leverage, the club is exploring other risky options. Debt restructuring, possibly through new high-interest bonds, is on the table, but that just piles more risk onto an already shaky tower. Desperate for new income, United is even expanding into esports and launching new digital fan engagement platforms in the hope of tapping fresh revenue streams. But all this feels like sticking a plaster on a bullet wound. Meanwhile, the Premier League's financial watchdogs are watching closely. The rules are clear: overspend, and you face penalties that could leave the club even further adrift. The stakes are enormous, not just for the club's balance sheet, but for its very identity, its culture, its global brand. Let's not forget the fans. Manchester United support is worldwide, but at home, the mood is mutinous. Protests against the Glazer family's ownership have reached boiling point. As one fan group leader put it, "We're not just losing games, we're losing our soul." It's here that the main conflict crystallizes. Manchester United is trapped between financial survival and sporting ambition. To fix the books, they must sell their most prized assets. But in doing so, they risk plunging the team into mediocrity, losing fan support, and driving away sponsors. The club's very future, on and off the pitch, hangs in the balance. Jamie Carragher, never shy with an opinion, sums up the dilemma. Manchester United needs a total rebuild, but they have to be smart. Keep throwing money at the problem, and you just dig the hole deeper. And so, we reach a tipping point. The club can sell off its stars in a desperate bid to stave off disaster. Or maybe, just maybe, a new investor steps in to save the Red Devils from the abyss. But what if neither happens? What if the fire sale fails and the debt defaults begin? From 3 possible futures, recovery, rescue, or ruin, United now faces the most critical summer in its history. Will the gamble pay off, or will Manchester United become the latest cautionary tale of sporting mismanagement on a global scale? As the summer transfer window draws near, the world watches. Will United rise from the ashes with a bold new plan, or sink into irrelevance, a giant brought to its knees by the very forces that made it rich and famous? As the world waits, Old Trafford stands at a historic crossroads. With almost every player available for the right price and the transfer window wide open, Manchester United's fate could take one of several wildly different turns. Let's explore what may truly lie ahead and what the consequences of each path could mean for this legendary club, its fans, and the football world at large. For starters, let's imagine the most optimistic scenario, the so-called phoenix from the ashes. If United management executes the fire sale strategically, focusing on extracting maximum value from high-wage, diminishing assets like Casemiro or Maguire, while protecting young, high-potential talents, they might not only balance the books but lay foundations for long-term growth. An aggressive but smart overhaul could free up the wage bill, satisfy FFP requirements, and arm the club with a war chest for reinvestment. But that's a big if. In today's market, the gap between a player's purchase price and current value is punishing. Take Jadon Sancho, who arrived for $73 million, now reportedly valued at less than half that. Casemiro, and $70 million acquisition who might fetch a mere $15 million this summer. And Antony, another super signing at £85 million, could leave for $30 million if the club is lucky. Every deal risks crystallizing huge losses, money United simply can't recoup. The real value, experts argue, could come from selling homegrown academy players. Because they're accounted for as pure profit under FFP, offloading names like McTominay or Rashford would have an outsized impact on the club's ability to dodge sanctions. But this is a double-edged sword. While the books might benefit, the heart and soul of the team, the very DNA that made United unique, could be ripped out in the process. And then there's the risk of a talent vacuum. Even with $150 million or more raised, would United be able to attract quality replacements? Brexit has made cross-border deals pricier and more complex. The club's poor league finish and absence from Europe's top stages have already cooled the interest of certain targets. KPMG's financial models suggest a single season outside the Champions League could drain up to 20% off United's brand value, weakening their ability to command sponsorships, lure rising stars, or even sell shirts abroad. Sponsors are watching this drama unfold with sharp eyes. Bloomberg reports that several of United's blue-chip partners are reassessing their ties. Should the club descend into mid-table mediocrity, vital revenue could drain away, making recovery even harder. According to analysts from Deloitte, if United missed the Champions League for a second consecutive year, they could tumble out of the financial Big Six, redrawing the Premier League's commercial map. Of course, there is another card in the deck: new ownership or a massive injection of outside capital. The so-called takeover savior scenario could see a wealthy investor, or perhaps a consortium, step up to buy out the Glazers, restructure the club's perilous debt, and inject fresh cash into player recruitment. This path offers the fastest route to restoration, but it comes with two huge dangers. First, there's no guarantee a suitable buyer emerges. Second, history has shown that quick cash often begets reckless spending, repeating the cycle that got United here in the first place. And finally, the darkest timeline: what if the fire sale backfires? If the club fails to raise enough cash, or if a mass exodus guts the squad, United could plummet down the table. UEFA's FFP sanctions would loom large: points deductions, transfer bans, even exclusion from European competitions. Revenue would fall off a cliff. The Guardian's sources warn of a spiral of decline, where performance dips, sponsors flee, fan unrest explodes, and United's very existence as an elite club comes into question. All this places unprecedented pressure on Ineos and manager Ruben Amorim. The Ineos investment was never intended for player transfers but for infrastructure, like modernizing Carrington or expanding Old Trafford's capacity. So unless United hit a home run in the transfer market, they'll need to rely heavily on homegrown youth and shrewd bargain signings. As Marcel van der Kraan, the Dutch football expert, put it, Ruben Amorim faces an impossible task. Rebuilding the squad is essential, but the club's financial shackles severely restrict his ability to acquire quality players, condemning United to mediocrity. Yet, hidden in this crisis might lie opportunity. Football has a long tradition of clubs being forced to reinvent themselves in hard times. Look at Borussia Dortmund after their brush with bankruptcy in the early 2000s. A reliance on youth, data-driven scouting, and a clear vision propelled them back to the top. Ajax, too, embraced their academy during financial turbulence and emerged with a golden generation. Could United turn their famous youth system into the beating heart of a new era? Could this be a chance for fans to see fresh faces, hungry and unburdened by the weight of past failures? The key, and the lesson for all football fans and club executives, is clear: sustainability matters. Kieran Maguire, the renowned football finance expert, summarizes, Manchester United's precarious financial position, characterized by exorbitant debt and a dependence on player sales, renders them acutely vulnerable to FFP sanctions, potentially triggering a downward spiral. Solvency must come before stardust. So, what can you take away from this saga? First, for fans, it's a crash course in the hidden mechanics behind those shiny transfers you see splashed across social media. When a club stacks its roster with pricey signings on lavish wages without mapping out the financial consequences, disaster isn't just possible, it's almost guaranteed. Watching your club live beyond its means may bring short-term joy, but sooner or later, the bill always comes due. Second, for would-be football investors, owners, and club directors, United's crisis is a textbook lesson on why financial discipline is crucial no matter how big the brand. Mind the wage-to-revenue ratio. Don't let emotion lead to unsustainable transfer splurges. Ensure infrastructure investments and commercial expansion don't detract from bread-and-butter squad planning. And above all, remember that success is built steadily, not bought overnight. Third, for young players and their agents, never underestimate the value of being developed at a club with a rich tradition of nurturing talent. In hard times, they might become the club's most coveted assets, both for footballing reasons and their positive impact on the balance sheet. The next crop of Manchester United graduates could find themselves thrust center stage, becoming cult heroes almost overnight. In the coming weeks, as the transfer news breaks and rumors swirl, watch for some key signs. Does United retain any of its core stars, or do they go all in on youth? Are troubled but talented assets like Rashford or Sancho given a lifeline or sold for survival cash? Do new investors step in and calm the storm, or does the protest movement led by furious fans force the Glazers' hand at last? The answer to the big question, can Manchester United survive this financial storm, remains unwritten. The club is not too big to fail, but history has shown time and again that football's giants can fall only to rise again if they learn from their mistakes. United can survive, but only through tough choices, humility, and a clear, disciplined vision for the future. Here's a secret fact that few fans realize. Selling homegrown players, even fan favorites, is often the only real way to make a dent in FFP compliance, because their book value is zero. That's why, heartbreakingly, you might see academy graduates on the chopping block before expensive foreign flops. It's math, not malice. So, what do you think? Should United risk it all on a squad fire sale or hold out for a white knight investor? Can the club's youth rise to the occasion and restore Old Trafford's roar? Share your thoughts below. Let's hear your transfer wish lists, your survival plans, your boldest predictions. And if you want to keep up with every twist in this extraordinary story, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We'll be tracking every deal, every drama, and every dollar right here. Thanks for watching. And remember, in football as in life,